The Late Diagnosis Butterfly by Peter Pan. Just as middle age hit me, and my wings became more battered and droopy, I was diagnosed with autism and ADHD. And suddenly, with prescription medication and dietary changes, I was able to think more clearly and regulate my emotions more effectively. As the noise in my head grew quieter and the feelings of anxiety dissipated in me, I finally understood the crucial role neurotransmitters played in allowing me to plan, be motivated, and think more positively. Suddenly, everything made sense to me. And so I rushed to tell others of my life-changing discovery. But they couldn't see why the diagnosis was so important to me. Instead, they told me, "Well, you seem the same to me. A diagnosis is not that important, is it? It doesn't change who you are intrinsically." Others could not understand that diagnosis had been the key that had allowed me to finally understand myself properly. But the key also opened the door to my past and allowed me to see how easy my life could have been had I been diagnosed early. Unfortunately, others could not understand why I mourned the more manageable life I might have had if others had understood and supported me when I told them I was experiencing daily difficulty. They lacked the curiosity to consider how undiagnosed neurodivergence had incapacitated me, and instead rebuked me for wallowing in misery, commanding me to snap out of it by thinking more positively. And so I pushed through the grief that was consuming me and joined them for a cheerful coffee. However, their conversations soon focused on their own despondency as they commiserated their impending mortality. They spoke with lowered voices, whispering the change nervously, their eyes filled with fear as they admitted how they felt their minds were falling apart unexpectedly. They shared stories of lost items and missed appointments, of how they felt overwhelmed by tasks they once managed to do easily. Then, eyes brimming with tears of shame, one admitted reluctantly, "I have never before succumbed to dark thoughts, not even in times of great loss or adversity, yet now feelings of hopelessness drag me down constantly." Turning to all around her, she pleaded, "I feel so confused and helpless. What can I do?" And all reassured her warmly, saying, "This issue is temporary. It's just a normal change in hormones and not something to be endured endlessly." And so I listened to their tales of horror, the horror of having a brain that did not function effectively. And I watched as they reassured one another, saying, "It's not your weakness. It's not your lack of resilience. It's not because you don't try hard enough. It's not you. Your hormones are doing this to you." And as I listened, I was frozen by the enormity of what was unfolding before me. Women my age coping horrendously because they had to deal with the unusual experience of vulnerability. However, I did not feel compassion or empathy. Instead, I felt the embers of rage ignite in the depths of me. Instead of sisterly support, the feelings of fury and contempt arose in me. Because where had the supportive words been when I suffered with confusion, overwhelm, depression, and anxiety? Why was I never told, "It's not your fault"? What made it different for me? And then it dawned on me, diagnosis could have made things different for me. The key of diagnosis could have unlocked the treasure chest that held understandings of neurodivergent reality. Inside the treasure chest, I could have found the map that would have allowed me to navigate life more easily. I could have found the manual that explained myself to me, the manual that would have allowed others to understand me. However, lack of diagnosis meant that others failed to understand when I told them I was experiencing difficulty. Lack of diagnosis allowed others to see my depression, anxiety, emotional dysregulation, and cognitive difficulty as being down to my inability to try harder or think positively. Yet, as I watched these women crying into their coffee, it seemed that they had the self-compassion and cognitive flexibility to see how hormones could impact their quality of life negatively. But they had seemed reluctant to offer me the same understanding and empathy. even after I explained how issues with my brain chemistry caused me to struggle emotionally and cognitively. However, they had managed to easily recognize aspects of my neurodivergence that caused them difficulty. My impulsivity, forgetfulness, and sensitivity, whilst managing to overlook the positives in me, my enthusiasm, energy, and creativity, my resilience and ability to persevere despite frequent setbacks, failures, insults, and injury. They could not see that what was happening to them for a limited time only had been my entire existence, my daily lived reality. And it occurred to me that their perception of me had framed how I saw myself. They had mirrored to me that I was weak, high maintenance, and overly needy, and I had internalized this narrative. I had come to believe that they were stronger and more capable than me. But I realized that these women had both a diagnosis that clarified what was happening to them and the support of others in their community. Whilst I had struggled, confused and alone, with no diagnosis to help me understand what was happening to me and no community to support and validate me. And then it dawned on me that I had managed to overcome life's obstacles by myself, with no support and a wonky brain chemistry. And I was struck by the certainty that I was stronger and more resilient than I had allowed myself to see. And it occurred to me that I didn't need others to support or validate me, as now, with a diagnosis, I had the possibility of finding my own neurodivergent community who would understand and support me. And so, in the twilight of my life, I understood that whilst life would probably always be tricky for me, I would overcome all obstacles because my marvelous neurodivergent mind had the creativity, flexibility, and resilience to roll with the chaos that life threw at me. The end. Thank you for watching. This video was written, illustrated, and narrated by Peter Pan. Please like and subscribe.